Thank you for tuning in for this week's live stream. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much to Rogers Reef Food for sponsoring this channel. They make a type of frozen food you can get at your local fish store that your fish will chew on versus chase it down. Amar, you're the first one here. Good job. Coral Magazine is the magazine I'm the executive editor for. I've been working on this magazine for about 2.5 years now. And the next issue, I'm just telling you right now, is going to appear in the next 2 to 3 weeks in your mailbox. So if you're not a subscriber, hit that link below, coralmagazine.com/MeLife23 to save 5% off an annual subscription. Save all kinds of money versus buying them, but you can buy each individual issue from my website. It just costs you more, plus shipping. So the deal is to get the subscription. Highly recommend it. I offer one-on-one consultation. Every week I meet with different people over the phone. We do a video chat. I help them with their aquarium. They become more successful, if everything goes well. And, just kind of help them spot what's off. So if you need some help with your tank, you can email me at sales@melivesreef.com. And I will assist you as best I can. These sessions last an hour, and we can use whatever video software you want to use. And if you don't have anything, we can use this software I'm using right now. We just don't connect it to the live so that everyone can tune in. It's literally one-on-one. So here I am, and I don't know if you can tell any changes behind me, but there's been a very slight shift. So I'll just tell you that. I have some updates for you guys, and so I wanted to, give you some visuals, but unfortunately, like always, I'm just racing all the way up to the clock. Anyway, I did things. So right up to the last minute, so of course nothing is into the stream software yet like it should be. But if I scroll back, I know that the last thing that I was telling you about on the live stream was that I was going to set up a sulfur denitrator. And then it took a few days for the sulfur to show up and then for me to actually set up the reactor. And this is to remove nitrate from the aquarium constantly. And when I talk about removing nitrate, I will show you. Here's a visual of today. It's pretty reddish, right? This is definitely in the 80s on my tank. And I just performed that test a few minutes ago because this is water test Saturday. But I've been testing daily, so it's like water test daily. But anyway, I'm wanting to see miracles. So let me catch you up. I set up the reactor. I shared some photos and stuff online. I've got some stuff I can show you guys now. Let me just grab a photo so at least you have one visual. Actually, let me grab a few here. So we got this one. And here is the sulfur media. And you don't need that one, that's dumb. And we'll do this one, okay? So I'll upload those really quick to my computer and I'll throw them on the screen. Let's see, do we have a new scene? Here's one, let's use it. Perfect. And so this is the reactor once it was assembled. And just to catch you up on what this is, if you've never heard of it before, I've been hearing about it my whole life. Actually, I'm going to make this bigger so you can see. So a sulfur denitrator reactor is basically a repurposed calcium reactor that you're running fluid through constantly with recirculation. So there's a pump that's constantly moving the water through the reactor, and then you're very slowly pushing liquid into the reactor, and then it will trickle back out. There's no other gear involved like a calcium reactor. There is no CO2 tank, there's no regulator, there's nothing. I'm using a single head dose pump to push liquid in. It goes through this reactor, which you can see there is reborn media in the bottom and in the top, and that was to kind of keep the sulfur contained. And then it squirts out the top through a very tiny hole through some airline tubing and drips back into my sump. And that is the process. So when I set this up, I had talked with Steve Wiest. I asked him for his advice. I said, how do I do this? And he told me that you're just going to set it up, and within a week, you're going to see a change. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. I thought it would take a month. It may actually take a month, but it's definitely kicked in already and it's doing its job, which is really cool. So what happened was I was really busy working on the latest issue of Coral Magazine, and I needed to get it done, and I finally got it done. I was like, all right, let's check the nitrate and see where the tank is, thinking I'm going to see some miracles, right? And I did not. I saw basically the same amount of nitrate in my tank, And, you know, I was like, And then someone on Facebook said, have you checked the effluent? I was like, I absolutely have not. That's a great idea. Let me check the output of the reactor and see what the number reads. And it was measuring somewhere around 5 instead of 80. And I was like, oh, it's definitely working. So I sent that information to Steve just to, you know, get some feedback. And he said, okay, so very soon you will be increasing the flow rate of pushing water into the reactor so that more water comes out of the reactor so that we can start turning over the water in your aquarium basically to eliminate this nitrate. So real world numbers, I've been running it. Oh, and then also, I didn't have any results yet. I was just thinking, come on, you know, this has been going for 10 days. I should see something. And then when I looked at my camera roll, I realized I only set up the reactor 5 days ago, but it felt like 10. Why was my internal clock that far off? I have no idea. But I was like, all right, I'm jumping the gun. I'm being impatient, or at least it's not really impatience when you think it's been 10 days. I've just been wrong. I was just wrong. So anyway, I went ahead and I've got another picture to show you here. And this is what the sulfur looks like. Sorry, 1 second here. And this stuff comes from Amazon. You can just buy a pouch of it. So I bought 2 pounds of the stuff. And that's what it looks like. You know, it sort of looks like really small versions of split peas. And then here is the reactor set up next to my tank. This was the picture of the first night, and I used and the reef was asleep, and when it's asleep, I don't turn on the lights. So I used a spotlight to show the reactor. And up on the wall there in the upper left of the picture, you can see a Versa pump. It is sucking water out of the sump. There's a little plastic pre-filter that comes from VCA that's on the intake line so that nothing can get into the water other than water. I believe VCA calls them dots, and he sent me a couple samples a while back, and I had no use for them whatsoever until today. And so I stuck that on the end of my tubing so that way nothing large could get into the tubing. It draws in clear water, goes into the reactor. The reactor is constantly circulating, like I said before, and then it pushes out through that green tubing, which then you can't see it, but it's flowing into the sump on the right of the picture there. And that was running at 30 milliliters per minute, very slowly. It's very slow. I can't remember how many gallons it is, maybe 8 gallons a day, nothing. So then Steve says, you know, you need to increase it. So last night at midnight, I went over to the Versa doser and changed it to 60 milliliters per minute instead of 30. So I doubled its flow rate. And I will hopefully start seeing some slight change in my reef. The nitrate test I took today might be slightly less than the nitrate that was in my measurement yesterday. I don't know. It's pretty darn close, but it's pretty red. But eventually, it will be nice and low because this absolutely is working. And the reason I know it's working is because the effluent is coming out lower than what's going in. Now, once I get my tank all the way down to like 10 or anything under 20 would make me happy. When it's going in at 10 or 20 or whatever it is, then the output will be 0. And that will be the point when you have to find the sweet spot, or I'll have to find the sweet spot for my reef to determine exactly how much media is best for my system. Steve Weiss, big tank, he told me he's using 4 pounds of sulfur. Well, his reactor is larger than the one I got, the one I'm using, and the one I have barely, as you can see, it was pretty full. It held the 2 pounds I got, so that was it. That's all it could hold. Now, Steve thinks I need the 4 pound size. I need a bigger reactor, but for now, I just want to kind of just try it out and see what she does. And if it works, great, because that means I don't have to spend any more money. And if it works well, like one would hope, then maybe I will be doing something different where I only use 1.5 pounds of sulfur or 1 pound of sulfur because the tank is staying down at 10. It's only going, it's sort of like TDS, right? The higher the TDS going into your RODI system, the higher the output of the membrane, which in turn wastes DI resin because the TDS is so high. Well, the same thing with sulfur. If I'm going in at 80 and I'm coming out at 10, or if I'm going in at 10, I'm coming out at 0. There's a huge difference there. So I won't need as much sulfur, and I'll have to find that sweet spot. I'll have to find the ideal amount, and possibly the the ideal flow rate might have to change too. Like I'm doing 60 milliliters now because that's what he told me to do. Maybe, you know, when it's under control and I'm not doing this extreme mop up, but instead it's like maintenance, maybe I'll only go in at 20 milliliters per minute, just slowly let it work its magic. One person said, is that pure sulfur? I believe it is. Let me see if I can read to you what it says on the package, because I took a photo of it somewhere. It wasn't that long ago. Where the heck is it? I'm looking. Hang on. I can't believe how many pictures I take. How many things happen in my life in a given week. Wow, I do not see it here at all. Sorry, I must have missed it in my scrolling. But it is, come on, I know it's here. It has to be here. I mean, I own it. It came from somewhere, right? There's the cleaned out reactor. Okay. It just says sulfur. It's right there. Can you see that? Just says pure sulfur. And it says 99.0% free sulfur derived from elemental sulfur. 2 pounds. So there you go. William says, how much phone storage do you have? Tons. I used to be maxed out. And then when I upgraded phones, I allowed everything of my sorted history of all the photos I've taken in the last decade or longer is in the cloud. And so my phone is actually tons of space. You know, it's like a 2 terabyte phone, and I could be totally fine with 1 terabyte now because so much of it's in the cloud. But I never get rid of any photos. I mean, it just, you never know. Okay, so let's talk about the reactor now. The reactor was old. It was used. It was given to me in exchange for some acrylic work I did. The pump on the top has been leaking very slowly. And the first night, I just put a towel on the floor, but I knew that wasn't going to work. And the solution very likely will be to have to take the pump off, replace the O-rings, and then, you know, put it back together again. But it's such a hassle that I thought, you know what's even easier than getting new O-rings? Put the reactor in a bucket and just let it overflow into the bucket. So in the last week, I've had to empty out this much water out of the bucket. So, not swell, but just not enough to motivate me to drive up to like Ace Hardware or Home Depot and go through their O-ring selection trying to find a match. Or the other choice, of course, go to Amazon, just order a new replacement pump. Just put a brand new pump in that thing since I'm doing this now. But for now, let it leak. Who cares? It doesn't affect anything. It's a bucket in my fish room in the corner. I just have to make sure to empty it out. And if I don't, it'll overflow and it will drip into my French drain and just go away anyway. So does it really even matter? It would just be nice to have something that's not leaking in my fish room. And it was just kind of annoying. I was like, man, really? Okay, so that happened. And it's happening, and I will continue to give you updates. And I've had some people say, will you be doing like a full video about sulfur denitrators? Because there's, you know, I was told by 1 or 2 people, there's just nothing out there on it that just goes in depth. So yes, I will, but I need to learn how to use it first. I need to get some personal experience. So it'd probably be, I don't know, let's just think probably a couple months from now before I can actually say anything official and categorically. But for now, I'm just kind of riding this experience, and I'm enjoying it. All right. The next thing I want to share with you, we're going to change gears again. All right, well, let's just talk about this. By the way, did you guys know that a rocket went around the moon? That's in my photos, too. That was awesome. That was so wonderful. I just loved it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, too. All right. The next thing I've done, and I've got a photo to show you. Yeah, let's just go with this now. I'm going to show you a little video clip, if I can get it to upload. So we'll make another scene. And then we'll drop this guy on there. That's neat. So here's my test. Got a little bit of room. hole in the dead center would go right through there. That. So what you're looking at there is a prototype that I made of a piece of just raw acrylic that I did not need, but I needed to know if the measurements were right. So here is a nice photo. Here's two nice photos of it that will show this to you. Actually, we'll just grab a few. All right. So go back to the other scene that we were on before. Let me get rid of these extra photos here. Sorry I didn't pre-build this. I wish I could have had the time, but I did not. So here is that piece of acrylic spanning my tank where the return assembly is penetrating the acrylic and going into the reef. And you're thinking, well, why on earth do you need this? Now, I've had this reef for 12 and a half years. I built this assembly probably in October, November, probably November of 2013. Yeah, 2013. So 13 years ago. And this assembly is brilliant, by the way. Just in case you ever want to mimic something, this one here is it's worthy. So what you're looking at there is all 1.5 inch pipe that goes to a union in the far back corner there. You can see it against the white wall. There's a union there, a large one, a Schedule 80 union. That allows me to unscrew it or disconnect it from the return line and take it down for cleaning, which I do once in a blue moon, which I did before I installed this piece of acrylic. I cleaned it. Got another photo to show you. Here it is from above. You can see the union on the right. You can see how the water flows to the left, and it goes through a series of T's, and there's even an elbow and then a cap on the far left. That part there is merely to keep it nice and stable so it doesn't pivot. I needed some kind of a leg so that when I set it on the top of the tank, it wouldn't rotate or pivot down or squirt upward. I just wanted to sit level. So this assembly that I made 13 years ago has worked brilliantly. Now in the middle, you got that weird spot with a piece of foam that's held around something that's got a zip tie on it. That is a reverse check valve. The reverse check valve was installed to break the siphon on the tank the minute the return pump turns off, and it has worked flawlessly all these years. Anytime I turn off the return pump, and that's every single night when I feed the fish, the return pump starts to back siphon water out of the tank, but that check valve opens, sucks in air, and breaks the siphon instantly, and no more water drains into the sump. It's a wonderful system. And over the last 13 years, I had to replace the check valve one time, probably around 7 or 8 years, because it was tired and wouldn't work right anymore. So I got a new one, and I got it from Marine Depot. They are out of business. I don't know what I'll do the next time I need one, but this has worked out really well. Now you can see how the pipes are all 1.5 inches. That's big. That's intentional. I wanted to get the maximum amount of flow into the tank, but then the output is not 1.5 inches. So the output, and I don't have a handy picture, but we do have video of my reef that I could show you. How about if we use this one from a couple weeks ago? On the far right, you can see the nozzles where that Flame Angel just swam, and now the Coral Beauty's up there, and now Spock is in front of them. They're to the right. And those nozzles are shooting water into my reef, but they're coming out of 1 inch pipe. And because I went 1.5 inches with the entire assembly and then reduced to 1 inch at the last point possible, the flow is equal strength out of both nozzles. If you had done all one size pipe, like let's say you were copying it, but you said, well, I don't want to use 1.5 inches, I want to use 1 inch, my pump is 1 inch, everything's 1 inch, that's a mistake. But okay, let's say you just do everything 1 inch, that's okay. If you do it though, and you go exactly like I built mine, the first nozzle out of the output will be stronger and the one further away will be weaker, because water is going to exit as quick as it possibly can from the plumbing assembly. So if you were going to use all 1 inch, then you would need to basically go straight into the middle and then split equally out and then go into the tank. That way the pressure coming out of both nozzles is equal. But if you go 1.5 inches and then you make both the outputs smaller, you get basically essentially the same amount of pressure. Now, I'm not measuring this with some kind of, I don't know, some kind of a gauge, but I can put my hand in front of the nozzles and it feels the same. Could it be possible one in the front's a little bit weaker? Maybe, but nothing I've been aware of. And keep in mind, too, that if you have a DC-driven pump like I do, you can increase the power of the pump, which will then put more pressure on the nozzles to, create more flow. But I'm also, or not but in addition, because I'm using flow accelerators, they create back pressure on the nozzles to where it actually equalizes even better. So yeah, I bet the water pressure coming out of both nozzles is the same amount of strength on both sides, despite it all entering one side. So now let's go back to that picture I was showing you. Let's see, was it this one? Yes. So you can see there's 1.5 inches, and then if we look at the picture before that I showed you, actually I'll just throw a new picture up here, it's no problem. If you look at this one, you can see how the pipe goes right through the PVC hole. There's a little bit of a gap around it. Not enough for a fish to squirm out. This time, fish cannot get out of the tank if they were trying, because this hole is very, very small. If you are running a tank with screened tops, they will always find the spot where there's no screen. You could cover 90% of your tank and they will find the 10%. You could cover 95%, they'll find the 5%. It is crazy how they see the one sliver and shoot right for that when they could hit anything else and rebound back into the tank. So I needed to make sure that this would work. Now, the beauty of my assembly being 1.5 going down and then reducing to 1 inch allowed me to insert the assembly into the holes of the acrylic and feed it through and then push down to where the 1.5 inch elbow, the 90-degree piece right there, is penetrating the acrylic and it fills the void, so there's no gap whatsoever. If I had just 1 inch pipe going down, I would not have been able to put that through the acrylic because there's 1 inch and then there's an elbow that's 1 inch. And even if I remove the nozzle and unscrew the thing, I couldn't clear the corner of the 90-degree. But because it's 1.5 inches, it worked out beautifully. And I was so excited about that. So again, why did I make this whole thing? Because I'm ordering new tops for my aquarium. Actually, well, yeah, new. First time ever tops for my aquarium because of the fish. I have always had an open top tank. I've been a little bit stubborn about not needing it or not wanting it. Don't want things in my way. But, after just spending a lot of money on a bunch of fish a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I decided I should protect against jumpers. And I already had one jumper, unfortunately. I never remember the name of it. One of the fish, what's his name? Blenny? Some kind of Blenny? I don't know. Let me see if I can find... Oh, hang on. I might be able to find this. No, that'd be too easy. Okay. Trying to find the name of the person. Nope, that's not him. There it is. It was a Midas Blenny. I knew I couldn't think of it. I've never had one before, so getting one was cool. And I was actually really enjoying this cool little fish. But the belly, the underside of it, looked wrong. It kind of looked foul or burnt. Something was wrong with it. And unfortunately, one day I walked into the fish room, there it was on the floor. It was still soft. It hadn't turned into a potato chip yet. I grabbed it. I was rinsing off in a cup of tank water all the dog hair. And I tried to hold it in front of an area of high flow in the anemone tank, so that the nozzle could push oxygen through its mouth and hopefully through its gills. And I tried this for like 20 minutes and got no reaction. And the fish, like I said, the fish looked fine. The eyes were still clear. The body was still soft and pliable. I was like, maybe I caught this in time. I didn't even know it had jumped. I just saw it. So I was trying to save its life. Did not have any luck. I think I was too late, in picking it up. And so I lost that fish. And so, here it was like, I don't have tops. It's my own fault. So I reached out to Top Lids, who I'd spoken to actually a year ago. I reached out to them back in May of 2025 and said, let's finally do this lids thing that people talk about. And he was like, yeah, sure. We still have all that conversation from for almost a year ago. I was like, yeah, I know, it's my fault. He was ready to go. And I was the one that was like, I need to get him some specific measurements. And the specific measurements were that piece that you saw. That was a pretty important measurement. So I went ahead and I got all the information for him. And then, got another thing to show you. After making that piece, then, let's see, how do I share this to my computer? Okay, we'll have that here in a second. I'll throw it on the screen here over my face. So here is my schematic that I made of that piece. And the piece itself is 29 inches long. And it is 6 1/4 inches wide, because that way the section where the plumbing goes in is, it looks like I have a giant check in front of me. Look, I have all the money. No, I'm kidding. It's going to block that area for anything coming out, but it doesn't need a screen. It didn't need anything special from this. Why do I need this company to go to all this trouble? I just need a solid, clear spot. And technically, I could probably just make my own out of clear polycarbonate, but I only have 1/4 inch. I don't use or purchase 3/8. These guys make lids all day long. I said, just make me this piece and make me those 2 holes exactly where they are. And I said, 5.7280 inches from the end, and then 3.75 inches from the bottom up. The epicenter of that 2.5 inch hole goes right there. And the same thing with the other one. And then the third one is this other thing I was starting to show you, which you saw in the quick video clip I did. We'll go to this here. Nah, we don't want that one. Let's go to this one. And we'll take this picture here. Where are you? There. And this is my red Solo cup that always lives on top of my reef. This is the best cup ever. Whenever you need to add something new to your tank liquid-wise, and you just want to dilute it and trickle it in slowly or gradually, the Solo cup is the ultimate manual dose I can think of, besides pouring it in by hand while you stand there. So in the past, I had a little piece of acrylic in the corner of my Euro brace there, with 2 tiny holes poked in the bottom edge of the cup on the side near the base, and you would just pee into the tank. In the most use I ever use it for, I keep saying word most, is to put alkalinity into the tank. So if for some reason I was trying to increase my DKH because the calcium reactor has tapered off, I can just mix up a tablespoon of baked baking soda or soda ash with some RO water, pour it into the cup, and the cup pees it in the tank for the next 3-4 minutes or so. And then 20 minutes later or so, my tank is up 1 DKH. It's a perfect solution. So in this graphic right here underneath me, you can see to the far right, it says that hole there is a recessed spot, 2 3/4 inches wide. There's a 1/2 inch hole in the dead center that will go all the way through the acrylic, and the cup will just sit in the little cup holder, and then it will have a tiny hole in the bottom of the cup, and I will fill it up with solution. It will just trickle into the reef and disperse. This is my real simple instant addition, which I only use once in a while, but when I use it, I need to use it. And so I said, let's just build it into this solid piece instead of trying to incorporate something into a removable lid. So that is what I sent him, so that they make no mistakes, and they will send me this piece along with 3 separate lids that are each going to, well, I've got, it's 24 inches wide by 29 inches, and then 23 inches wide by 29 inches, and then 24 inches wide by 29 inches. That works out to 71 inches, and that will cover the entire top, and then the bonus piece of acrylic that you just saw all this work I went into to make sure it fit, which, by the way, I took all my measurements, and then I designed it all on my computer in the workshop with Minion, and had her cut it out, and then it worked on the first try. I was so impressed with myself. I love getting it right. I hate doing things twice, And I was like, I've got to at least try this before I give him these numbers, because what if I'm wrong? What if I made a mistake? I cannot change. I'm absolutely not going to change my assembly because it works. And I don't want to cut it up, alter it, adjust it to create an 1/8 of an inch shift. It's like stupid. No, I'm not doing that. So I said, I'm going to use what I got. I'm going to make this cool little piece. It's going to fit into there like a dream, which it totally did. And I could send it to them. And I just got to pay the bill. They'll ship me the lids, and they'll be on top of the tank, and no more escaped fish. Now, I will say that I lost another fish, but it wasn't a jumper. I looked in the reef last night, and I was, there's this little spot in the back of my reef where I can kind of look through a hole, and there was the cleaner wrasse, and it's just laying there. I'm like, what is it doing? That's weird. Cleaner wrasses are always on the move. Completely dead. I mean, I looked from the front of the tank, no gills moving. I was like, what happened? You didn't even jump. You just chose death over life. I'm so upset. So that was a bummer. But I did have a cleaner wrasse in the past. I talked about it on this channel. I mentioned how they're so difficult, and that's why I don't get them typically. And man, everyone said, you're wrong. Those things are easy. I buy them. They just do great. I'm like, really? I was really surprised because all I'd ever heard in the early 2000s was that cleaner wrasses were hit or miss, like flame angels. And but no. So anyway, I had this one in my tank. It was doing a great job, and then one day it jumped out because I didn't have tops. So I am buying tops to avoid jumpers. I definitely don't want to lose the new Tilefish because I really like that fish. It is just a cool fish, and it is doing the funnest stuff. So that leads me to the next part of this thing that I want to show you guys. So he has been, okay, this Tilefish is about, what is that? I don't know what that is, 5-6 inches. And it stays low in the tank, but it does go up high. I've watched it go up high, especially during feeding time. And I'm like, don't you do it, don't do it, don't do it. I don't have tops yet. But when it's down low, it will blow on the sand. It would literally open its mouth and go, and you can see the sand do this. I will film that to show you guys because it's so cool. But he's been doing that and looking for probably worms to eat. Okay, fine. But the other thing this crazy fish is doing is it's finding every scrap of reef remnant, former coral skeleton, bits that have rained down into the rockwork for years. It has been bringing them out into the open. And it's just piling them up all over this one area of my tank. And I was like, you know what? That's going to work in my favor because now that you've done all this work for me, I can go ahead and I can remove those. So I did share a little tiny clip on social media. I'm not going to, well, I could play it for you, but there's no point. I'll just show you the before and after. So here is a couple of pictures there, and then here is a follow-up. So we'll upload those. Okay, we'll go back to the scene we were on. I'm just going to throw pictures on this thing until it explodes. So here is that area that is under an acropore. It's the left side of my tank. There's Spock heading toward the vortex, if that gives you a sense of scale. And you can kind of see some of the dead corals down there. I mean, that's a huge coral right there, which we'll be talking about next. And that one there was, taking up space. But behind it, you can see all that shrapnel. All that, I'm looking at it on my screen. I'm not looking at it on your screen. So here is the shrapnel that it found. And I was like, okay, I got to get all that out. So I ended up using what's called a Lee's container. And it's this thing like you always see in the fish store. They hang them on tanks. They put one fish in there, or they put the net in there, or they scoop a fish, and they just bring. It's a specimen container. And I have a very small one that I picked up from Dirk at any of the trade shows. Dirk's always there, and Dirk sells these oddball things, and I always find things I like. And I liked that little tiny specimen container to hold brine shrimp in my refrigerator, for example. But in this case, I lowered into the tank. I grabbed my tweezers, they're forceps, and I just picked up one bit of stuff off the sand and put it in the container, and it kept doing that until it was all picked up. And then when I was all said and done, we'll go back to where we were. This is what that area looked like. Ta-da! Now, something else I want to point out to you in this photograph, besides clear sand, which is nice, is that the sand between, or the area between the glass and the sand, I cleaned that as well. That was all black and red, and I hate that look. It bothers me with an aquarium, and it's part of a tank becoming mature. It just happens. unavoidable. It happens. But if you go in there with a credit card and just scrape that away, I just feel like the tank looks better. And so I would highly recommend you do that. And don't fear it. You know, you can go in there and you can clean it. It's not going to unleash holy hell in your tank. It's not going to release terrible things that are going to poison your reef or kill your fish or cause a cycle. You can just clean it. It's totally fine. You're cleaning the glass all the time. You're siphoning the sand bed when you do a water change. You can totally clean the area where the glass and the sand touch and just clean out that area. So I sent this picture to Dwayne, and he told me, keep going, because the rest of my reef needs it all the way around the rest of the perimeter. But I would say that 2.5 feet of my 7-foot tank, maybe 3 feet of my tank, is now clean and white sand, and then the rest of it's that hideous black gunk, and I've got to work my way across it. But I have not done it since. I've not had time. But so that's kind of cool. Now, you notice that big tongue coral is gone. So I wanted to show you what I removed, because holding it in our hands is always more impressive than taking a photograph. So we're going to start with something small first, because you know, both corals were dead. Last year, I had something wrong with my tank. Maybe, yeah, it was last year, but I couldn't find it. It was actually an ongoing problem for months. I tried everything in my power. I bought a brand new skimmer trying to solve the problem. The ICP test result, when I did my ICP test, I got an email saying your tungsten is really high. I'm like, tungsten? And it's like, yeah, check all your magnets. So I checked every magnet I had and couldn't find anything that was damaged other than the impellers of my skimmer that are wrapped in plastic. The plastic had cracked. And I was like, okay, this is not like a rusting, exploding magnet. I don't understand where this tungsten's coming from. So I never did find it, but at the same time, clearly there was something wrong with my tank, because I was losing chalices and fungias and the tongue coral. And it was just eroding away, and I just lost them. That's all there's to it. So anyway, the first piece I want to show you is this one right here. So this one right here is a Lobactis scuteria, and I've had this coral for a long time. I didn't look up how long I've had it, but it's a long time. And 10 years? Probably. When I sent a picture of this to Jake Adams, he says, oh, you have a true fungia. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a fungia. He goes, no. What people call fungia are not really fungia. This one is a fungia. This one has a long, continuous mouth, where a lot of fungias have a little orange mouth in the center, and they have these colors radiating out like wheel spokes of a wheel. So anyway, I was kind of proud that I had this really cool coral, and I wanted to show it to you. But what I wanted to show you also was the bottom of it. That's crazy, right? It's like a little mountain. And I was like, all right, because I'd never seen the bottom. I mean, even when you pick it up, you see the skin, you're holding it up, you're like, okay, and it didn't look like a depressed part. A lot of times when you pick these up off the bottom of your tank, you know, or some type of fungia, you may accidentally discover a bristleworm or two come out from underneath it. But this one here, I was kind of hoping I'd get lucky and I could take this guy and I could put it in, or leave it in the tank and just maybe babies would come out of it. But this, I don't think the species does that. The green ones that I've been growing for, well, again, everything's 10 years with me, but for the last 10 or 12 years, the round fungias, the normal ones, I've had, my reef grows 20 new ones every year. And of those, and I had some that grew enormous. I was going to send one to Polar Reef. I was going to send one to the 20,000 gallon reef on Long Island. And I just never finished the idea. I had the idea and I didn't do it. And they died. I'm like, my fault. But I have a couple of little clusters of skeleton that keep pushing out babies. And so I always get new ones. And right now, I still have new ones happening, even though many died from tungsten, but the producing coral or the producing skeleton continues to sprout little babies. And I've had these little healthy babies next to the skeleton of a dead one. I'm like, this makes no sense. It's the same tank, same water, same everything. They're okay. This one's not. I can't explain it. But anyway, I removed this. So I did some measurements just because I was curious. This in my hand weighs 1.7 or 1 pound 7 ounces. So it's 1.5 pounds of skeleton. It might be a little lighter once it dries out fully. I soaked it in I actually want to bleach it so it's bone white, or leave it in the sun till it's bone white. And I'm going to put it on the shelf behind me because I think it's cool. And I've had it so long, I was like, this is one I'm going to keep. It's 6.5 inches long. It's 3 7/8 wide, and it's 2 3/4 inches tall. So that is the true fungia, according to Jake Adams, that I grew in my tank from a smaller version. Obviously, I did not get something this large from the fish store. Then the tongue coral. The tongue coral I purchased at Frank's Tanks, and it was probably 5 or 6 inches long when I got it. This is what I took out of my tank. This guy here has the exact same thing as the fungia. Look at the bottom. It did that hollow thing. I did not know that. And I've had to move this a few times. There was times where I'd be working in the reef, like when Dwayne came for the reset, and I would take the biggest pie pan I had, which is a glass dish, and I would just set it somewhere and stick the coral in it, like this, in the pie pan at an angle. And then after a while, I'd look, and I could see all the flesh just, like, hanging off it, like tearing off. I was like, oh, my goodness, this poor coral, I need to get it in water immediately. And I would take it out of the pie pan and get it in the tank and put it in some other spot. This guy here is enormous, and I grew it from a very small thing. And I can tell you a little bit about this one. So right here, there's a little, like, indentation. I know it kind of does this, but there was a spot. You know? Wow. Okay, I don't have a tape measure. I actually have a ruler, I think. Look at this. This coral used to be 5 inches. So I can kind of see the original coral before it did all of its growth right through there. At one point in my tank, I can't remember what happened to it, but there was like almost like a bite that happened. And it was really dumb, and it was annoying, and cyano would grow there, and I'd blow it off. And it just had like this notch out of my coral, and I was like, man. And over time, you know, if you look at this really, really closely, you can kind of see how the skeleton stopped here. And then you can see this part here grew this direction, and this part here grew this direction to heal itself, to kind of get continuity again. That's kind of neat. Anyway, this guy here weighs 3 pounds, 1.9 ounces. It's 13 inches long, it's 5 inches wide, and it's 2 3/4 inches tall again. I guess the height part is standard. I don't know. But and I think this will look great on the shelf again. I had it for a super long time. I might have had it for 13 or 14 or 15 years. I'm going to look it up. The nice thing is with my computer, I can go to my photos and type in tongue, because I only had one tongue coral in my life, and I will find this guy, and I'll find out when I took the first picture. Or maybe in my blog, it'll be, you know, when I purchased it, it might show up in my website, which would be cool too. So that was really neat, and I want to show it to you because so often we don't realize the size of our stuff because it's in the aquarium, and we get used to it. Or with fish, you put it in, it's small, you got it from the fish store, you put it through quarantine, and then you scooped it out with a net and you put it in your tank. You never really handled it. But unfortunately, when you do lose a fish, that's usually when you put it in your hand, you're like, oh my God, I had no idea it was this large. And that is pretty standard for us. I don't know if it's the glass, the way water refracts, you know, it makes things look a different way, but we honestly don't really realize the size of things in our tank until we remove them, and then we're like, wow. And I always get that experience. You know, it's not because I have a big tank. I've had to remove fish from smaller tanks, and I was just like, wow, you really... I remember having a long-nosed hawkfish that was just a real problem fish, and I took it to the fish store and said, here, I want to just give him to you, put him in a bigger tank, you know, some new home, and sell me a new one. And I put the new one in my tank, and it was like half the size. And it was like the craziest thing, looking at this little tiny fish swimming around my tank. I was so used to this large fish. And yeah, that was neat. So that was the other thing I want to show you. And now, what else do I have to get for you guys today? I will show you a picture of the liquid coming out of the nitrate reactor. Let me just clear this really quick so I don't upload the same pictures twice. So this one here. Go back to this guy here. Look how nice that looks. Can you imagine when all my sand looks like that? I've really been excited about my reef lately, which is nice. So here is the nitrate coming out of the reactor. And it didn't take long to collect 5 milliliters. You know, when it's running 30 milliliters a minute, 5 milliliters doesn't take long to collect at all. So I didn't mind just standing there waiting for a little bit to fill that up, get the fluid. And it seems to be somewhere between 5 and 10 on there, which is a lot better than what it was going in. Okay. Now, let's see what else we got here. Let's see if I skipped anything important. I guess I could show you this because you haven't seen this in a very long time. This is the top of my reef. That's not a good picture. What the heck? Hang on. Make sure I got this right. Since we were talking about tops, you know, lids, I'd like to explain some of this stuff to you. It's so blue. I don't know if you're able to see it. Actually, we got this picture. We'll just grab another one. So we'll get this one and this one. All right, we'll jump to this here real quick. And so here is, I'm just going to, like I said, I'll just keep overlaying this one photograph, this one slide forever. Here's the top of the reef. The skies are above it, and you can see the glass bracing on the front and back of the aquarium. Here's another blue picture for you. And you can see I have a solid black polycarbonate lid over the overflow box, the external overflow. And then this one here is a pretty good view of the full length of the tank. If I shrink it down a little bit right there so it actually is visible on your screen. And you can see that my Euro bracing has like a lower shelf and then an upper. So what they did was when they built this tank, they crisscrossed the Euro bracing at the far end, you know, the farthest point of this photograph. And the lower piece, let's just say it's 3.5 inches wide, and the upper piece is 3 inches wide. And then they crisscrossed at the back corner so that you have glass sitting on top of glass at the corner, so they come together like this, and that makes that nice and strong. They did the same at the other end. It's crisscross, or it's double thick, so there's plenty of strength to this tank, but that lower recessed shelf on each side is what the lid's going to sit on instead of sitting on the entire tank, and that works out really well. So instead of needing a lid that's basically, give or take, 36 inches long, I can do it with 29 inches, and it works out really well, and it sits down clean in there. And I already asked, you know, oh, and then this is the cool thing. Tyler told me when they're making these lids, you know, because I kind of forgot about it. I mean, I knew I needed to do something, but I didn't really think about it. You got to feed the fish. And I was like, I need some kind of a feeding hole, and I'm thinking I just need a couple along the back. So you can put one on this panel and one on this panel. The middle panel doesn't need any feeding holes at all. And he's like, okay. And I was like, you know, if you just do that, if I at some point choose to feed from the front, I could just take the whole screen, turn it 180 degrees, and now the feeding hole's in the front, right? And he says, no, we'll just make the panel where there's one in the front and back, So you actually have 4 different points to put food in. I was like, oh, that's great. That's even better than what I was thinking of. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to getting this thing. And I don't know when I'm getting it. I mean, I just placed the order, but hopefully I'll get it before the Tilefish decides to abandon ship. It's like, don't you do it. My fish usually know to stay in the tank, but these new guys, they don't know better. All right, what else do I have for you? I've been working with the muggles, changing their water. This tank that's down here, that the light's not on yet, that tank was getting cloudy over the last couple of weeks, and I was like, what is going on? And I change water on it every single week, because the filtration is just a sponge filter. It's not much. And I thought, well, maybe it's just bacteria on the glass. So I cleaned the glass really good, did a water change, and it was still kind of cloudy. And I thought, okay, let me put in one of those ChemiClean packets, those little pillows that's supposed to absorb stuff and make the water clear. And the next day it was even cloudier. I'm like, what is happening? So I went ahead and I grabbed an ammonia test kit, and it was really high. And I'm like, how are these fish alive? So I contacted Matt, said, what do I do? You know, what do you recommend? And he says 100, because I was thinking 90% water change. And he's like, 100%. And I was like, how do I do 100? The fish need to swim in something. And he explained what he recommended I do, and I did it, and the tank is now ammonia free, which is great. And then the one behind me there, this one, I'm blocking it. That one there, it's got some ammonia, so I'll be doing a big water change on that one too. And he believes or surmises that the reason that I'm now dealing with ammonia, which I never did before in all these months of raising these fish, is that I was using live baby brine only, which doesn't pollute the water. But now that I'm putting in dry food, it is affecting the water adversely. And there's not the right, what do you want to call it, biological filtration to handle that. And so it comes down to me being more proactive with water changes, which I already don't like doing, but I do because they need it. But at least I explained why it was cloudy. But the weird thing is the tank behind me, crystal clear water, but still has some ammonia. So, and that's not as bad as this one did. This one was really bad. It was like 4 or 5. I'm like, wow. And they're still laying eggs. I'm like, you guys don't care. You literally don't care what I do. You'll just keep breeding. So I'm focused on getting great water quality for those 2 tanks because it's really important. And yeah, other than that, you know, all the tanks are doing well. There's just so many that there's always more work for me to do. You know, that one behind me, I need to clean all the glass. I started last night and stopped because I got distracted. And that's why it looks a little cloudy and green. The glass is covered in green algae. I've got to scrape it all off with a razor blade. And the handle's still sticking out right there where I was working. So I just need to keep chiseling away. But there was no time today before I got to do the live stream. But the point is that, you know, oh, and here, look, I will show you this so that you guys don't think I'm lying. Let's see, do that. This is the Baby Muggles tank. I'll just throw it on the screen here with me. See, ta-da! There is no more ammonia at all. That is normal for saltwater, so that's a good thing. And then the one behind me was around 1.0. It's like, oh. So I put in some Prime in both tanks because Prime is a miracle that locks up ammonia and protects your fish. And in the meantime, I will change all the water in that tank today, and that'll solve that one too. Also, let me talk about brine shrimp. I told you I had so many things to talk about. I have this list of things, and I've covered most of it, but this one here I did not mention yet. Let me find my photo, because I know I took it, and I don't think I've showed it to you guys yet. I think it was before the astronauts. Hang on. Here we go. So, actually, I've got 2 photos. This stuff is so interesting to me, and it's so funny because I've been doing this since 1997, and I'm all excited about this stuff. It's kind of cool. All right, so here are my new brine shrimps that I got I ordered them from Reef Nutrition. They were expensive like last time when I got them from, I think I ordered from San Francisco Bay last time. Not ordered, but got them at the trade show. So we'll go back to this multi-scene we were doing before. No, not that one.
So here's my test.
This one. Sorry. So I ordered this. And this, I had ordered something like this a long time ago. So this right here is brine shrimp eggs from Utah. And I bought these from Reef Nutrition. They were something like, I probably paid $100 including shipping for a coffee can of eggs. And here is a picture of what they look like. Ta-da! Little tiny bits of life as soon as you get them in some salty water. So I have been making brine shrimp for the last, I guess, 7 months. I was going to say 6 months. And I used the brine shrimp eggs that I bought from San Francisco Bay. Or maybe it was... Who makes Formula One? What is that brand? because the name in my brain, I'm seeing like reef nutrition, but that's absolutely wrong. Anyway, point is, I got these years ago, planning to do a video about growing brine shrimp, and I never got around to it. They just sat here, and then when it was time to raise these fish, Matt says, you're going to have to buy some brine shrimp. I was like, oh, don't worry, I got everything, because I was going to do this video. And he's like, okay, are they still viable? I was like, they're fine. I've never even opened the bag. They're like freeze-dried, like astronaut ice cream. You know, you can eat it 50 years from now. He goes, did you keep it in the fridge? I'm like, no, it's freeze-dried. It's fine. He's like, no, Mark, it's not. Go get your package and go look at the expiration date. And I looked at the date. I was like, wow. I can't believe you're right. He loves being right. And I think it expired in 2023. And I was just like, God, I mean, I can't believe, I mean, they'd been sitting here for years. And I was like, I'm using them. I'm not wasting money. I'm just going to use them. So I have been growing brine shrimp from those eggs that were expired. Best use by date or sell by date, whatever you want to call it. I just used the entire bag. I used all of it over the last 6 months. And I was putting in a teaspoon, yes, a full teaspoon in my hatchery every single day. So I have 2 hatcheries going. There's always one going, that's ready to harvest that day, and there's the next one for the next day. And I keep doing this and doing this. I've been doing this for 7 months. And I would put in a teaspoon, and then when I harvested, there'd always be all this shrapnel and garbage and stuff, and the brine shrimp were... they were there. They were alive. They were definitely doing their thing, and they obviously worked because I have fish. But I had a lot of residue. I was sitting there like making, if the egg casings weren't floating on the surface like I wanted them to be, but some had gotten into what I collected in the brine shrimp net, I was then, trying to put them in a separate container, let them settle, slurp out the swimmers, try not to get any of the garbage that was on the bottom of the dish because I didn't want to get in the tank because it pollutes, and it just gathers on the bottom of the tank or it sticks along the edge, the perimeter of the glass. So anyway, the point is, I've been doing all that for all this time, and I got these brand new, super healthy, not expired brine shrimp eggs from Reef Nutrition. Holy moly, what a difference. I told Matt, I said, when you said they were expired, I thought you were out of your mind because they're completely hibernated. But these new ones are so rich and developed and beautiful, and when I siphon out of the hatchery, I just get live brine. I don't get any of the eggs. The eggs stay on the surface. There's nothing on the... like I would see like junk on the walls, and as it's siphoning out, through the bottom, you'd see like sort of like a moonquake. The stuff starts falling downward, and it's heading toward the nozzle to come out. And I would always stop the tube before all that garbage came out and messed up what was collected in my net. Now, I can basically drain all the liquid to the layer of floating eggs. And I have so much more food than I did. I would say that probably before, with me using a teaspoon worth daily, looking back on it now after using this new batch, maybe I was having a 30% hatch rate out of 100%. Like, it was mostly garbage. 70% was worthless or was trash, and 30% was the good stuff. Because now I've been using half a teaspoon of the new brine shrimp, and it's too much food for these tanks. And so 2 nights ago, I started. Now I'm doing a quarter of a teaspoon. I'm going to have a lifetime supply because I don't need much. I mean, okay, I can't say that because it's going to expire. I just need to use them up. But it's just, it's night and day the difference. So if you, by any chance, are your breeder and you're just using something you've had for a long time, get the new can because you're going to be blown away. And then, of course, keep it stored in the fridge. I keep all of it in the fridge at all times. I have the can, and I have a little tiny specimen container like the urine cups, and I put some from the can in the cup, and the cup is what I open up every single day to put my little bit in the hatchery, and I seal it, and I put it back in the fridge. And I also made my life one step easier. The little spoon I'm scooping with, I've been just kind of like keeping track of it, and a few days ago, I just cut off the end of the handle so it fits in that container. So I unscrew the lid, take out my half spoon, get my little half teaspoon, pour it into the hatchery, and now I have the right amount of food for the 2 muggle tanks, which is good. But I cannot believe the difference when it comes to the age of the food. So if you have food that's old, you should get rid of it. And I did a thing last year where I'd been collecting foods from lots of places, and I just had this bin in the garage just packed. And the garage is climate controlled. It's not like it was baking. It used to be in the bedroom here, but now everything got moved around when I replaced the carpets a few years ago. And so I had all this food that I never used, from all these different brands. And I was looking through it, and I was like, wow, I had to throw away so much fish food and so much. I saw all the expiration dates, and I found a packet of something that was basically Artemia, which is brine shrimp eggs. I think it was maybe even decapsulated, which means no waste. You literally hatch just pure brine shrimp, and that's all you get. And there's no, it's just clean. It's like very expensive. And I had this little pillow of it, and I showed it to Chad from Reef Nutrition. He's like, I can't believe you even have that. I don't even recognize that packaging. That's how old it is. Like, oh yeah, I think it says something about 2013 on here, or 2009, or it was something ancient. I didn't even open it. I just threw it away, because at that time I wasn't growing brine shrimp. I didn't care. But food that just is in your possession doesn't mean it's good forever. Just like the food in our fridge, the food in our pantries, it goes bad too. Don't keep using it. Just toss it. Get new. I will tell you this story that has nothing to do with reef keeping, because it's funny, and I don't think I've shared it on this channel before. I might have shared it in an interview on a different channel, but not on mine. But many years ago, my son came over to work on his car in my driveway because I have all the tools. And he said, I'm really hungry. I was like, well, just, see what's in the pantry. And he says, oh, you got mac and cheese. That's awesome. I was like, okay. And, mac and cheese, you need butter and eggs. Butter and milk in the box. It's a miracle food, right? It's the kind of food you put in the bomb shelter so you've got food 50 years from now. So I had bought like one of these 8 packs of mac and cheese from Costco or Sam's, but I don't eat it. So it just was in the back of my pantry. And my son made a pot, and he goes, there's something wrong with this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, it came out bad. I said, did you read the instructions? He's like, no. So I was like, okay. And he says, I'm just going to throw it out, and I'm going to use another one. Is that okay? I was like, yeah, go ahead. So he used more milk, more butter, used the package, read the instructions, and it was terrible again. And he brings the pot out to me, because we were out there, like I said, working on his car. And he's like, look at this. And mac and cheese is sort of like this bright yellow-orange, it's vivid. It is what it is. It's cheese, right? Fake cheese. This was not that. This was tan, almost brown, and it didn't smell right. And he was just like, I don't understand, how I did everything it says on the package. Why does this come out so bad? So he finally picks up the box, and it says something like use by date or sell by date. And it was something like had expired like 6 years ago. And I'm just amazed. I mean, the noodles are pasta. Pasta is a dry thing. You add water to reconstitute it. And then the cheese is powdered garbage that is supposed to last forever, that is sealed in a foil packet, and it had gone bad. And like I said, I'm just amazed because, again, I've always felt like this is one of those foods you stick in your bomb shelter. The whole idea of nuclear war, at least we have some foods we can make. And this is one of those ones that you would definitely put in there. But it doesn't last 10 years, 20 years. I mean, until you finally add milk and butter to it. I keep wanting to say eggs. But yeah, no, you cannot. And so anyway, I've gone through my pantry every couple of years, and I always find ancient things. I keep thinking I got rid of everything bad, and then I'll find something else that like says 2021. I'm like, really? So anyway, same thing with our fish food. Same thing with our test kits. These things do expire. You do need to dump them, replace them with new ones if you're going to use that. Just because you got a free food sample at a show does not mean you can use it forever, because it's going to lose its efficacy. I know that, for example, Goniapower, which is a Goniapora powdered food, has an expiration date on the bottom. And when I reached out to Julian, like, how firm are you on this expiration date? He's like 100%. I was like, oh, okay. So, I mean, yeah, just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought that was kind of neat. All right. Well, we have talked for an hour. Now it's my chance to answer any questions you might have from the channel. If you have anything on your mind you'd like me to address, I'll be happy to try to answer it. And yeah, but I hope you enjoyed kind of catching up on what was going on here at the house for the last couple of weeks, because I have been busy, busy, busy. I'm really excited about this new issue of Coral Magazine that's coming out. I will show you guys the cover, if I can find it. I cleaned up my desktop and there's nothing on there anymore. So, where are you? See, it's not even here. I need to swipe it. By the way, the latest issues of Coral Magazine are on my website, so if you're wanting to order it there directly, I'm happy to ship it to you. They're easy to find. So go here. And here is our cover. Stick it right there for now. Oops, didn't want to do that. I meant to copy it, not steal it. Okay, there we go. This is the new cover. And this has got some really good stories in it. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Monsoon Aquatics has a fantastic story of breeding corals that you're going to read about. And then Richard Ross shares a story about breeding corals in your home. It's part 2 of a 3-part series. So that's in there. We have some really cool photography from Rajan Pat in the travel story that delves heavily into sweet lips, which is a really pretty fish that we normally don't keep in our tanks because they're so big. But they group and sit in like these giant balls, and they're really cool to look at. But what I didn't know, because I never kept any, is that the juveniles look massively different. Just, I was going to say 100% different. They are so different from, you would never think that becomes this. And so you'll really enjoy that story. And then the Achilles Tang is our species spotlight for this issue, where we tell you all about the fish and teach you more about what's going on with it. Josh wants to know, is there any updates on the anemone tank? The update is I have time to work on it. The bulkheads I've been waiting for have still not arrived, and my sales guy did not even reply to my last text asking for an update. So I might just have to go old school and use the kind I don't want to use. I really wanted these new bulkheads for what I was going to do. I'm planning to cut a hole through the wall to run the pipe down inside the wall and then fix the wall with new sheetrock, just mend what I chop up, because I built that wall, so I can mess it up. It's a shame, but whatever. I'd rather hide the pipes in the wall than have the pipes show through the 400-gallon reef to where you're looking at the reef. You're going to see these weird pipes hanging down. I just don't want that. I want that wall to just be I want it to be as invisible as possible so that you don't get distracted by a bunch of stuff in the background. And then, man, as soon as I can get that thing running, I will be so happy. You just don't even know. I'm already happy, right? This will make me happier. Dirty Germs says, what do soft corals need that LPS and SPS don't? My LPS and SPS are okay. The soft corals are closed. Nitrate is 1.2 and phosphate is 0.9. Alkaline is 8.8. Okay, so soft corals are far less demanding. They don't care about alkalinity, calcium, magnesium. That's not their thing. Can they utilize some? Yes. Does it matter at all? Yes. But is it critical? No. Your LPS and your SPS corals totally demand those specific parameters for growth, for what they need. But soft corals, no. They're more about dirty water. Now, your phosphate is pretty high, being 0.9. If it was 0.09, I'd feel a lot better. But it could just be that your tank needs a really big water change. This little tank back here, the 20-gallon water box, I had some really pretty daisy polyps that were totally fine for basically a year. And then one day they just all closed up. And I was like, what are you doing? And why are you closed? You've never been closed. And I can't remember what I was doing, but I was incredibly busy and I just kind of neglected the tank. Didn't do anything to resolve it, thinking it would just resolve itself, which it did not. I was cleaning the collection cup, changing out. There's a sponge in the back. I pull it up, put a new one in. I mean, it's all autopilot. So why on earth were these corals closed up? And everything else was fine in the tank. Well, those corals basically, once they closed, they just started rotting away. And then I was down to maybe, 15% of what I had. And I was like, at the very least, I could do a water change, like I've been doing for these muggles nonstop. So I did a big water change on that tank. I probably changed, I don't know, 5 or 10 gallons on that tank, and that tank barely holds 20. And what was left of the daisy polyps opened up. So the water change made the difference. What was in it? What were they lacking? I don't know. But it could just be that you need to do a big water change to make your softies happier if they're shut down for an extended amount of time. Now, they do close up, depending what kind of softy you're talking about. It could be leathers. Leathers do close down because they want to shed, and that is how they shed, the mucus off of their tissue, and then they reopen and they're beautiful again. So it could be that. But if you have like zoanthids that are closed up, it could be that your tank's salinity has gotten too high, and that will cause their polyps to close. Generally speaking, softies like dirtier water, and SPS and LPS like cleaner water. And that's why running all of them in the same tank is actually tricky, because you're combining things that are not natural in nature. And I totally understand running that type of tank, because I'm a mixed reef guy. I want to have zoanthids, and I want to have SPS, and I want to have LPS, and I want to have clams. I want all the things from the coral triangle in one reef tank, which is not how you would find them in the coral. You'd have to go all the way to this country to find this, and all the way to this country to find that. But I just want them all in one box of water. And another thing you can do, in case you're dealing with some kind of coral toxicity, you could try running carbon on the tank. And by running it, I mean literally put the carbon in a reactor where water's flowing through the media to help purify the water and absorb the allelopathy of chemical warfare happening between corals. And it could even be I'm thinking about Sinularia is one type of coral that SPS and Acropora specifically don't do well with in the same tank. And so we make it a point not to put those two species in the same box of water. But I was trying to think of how your corals like LPS and SPS could actually be harming the softies. That seems a reach. So I really think it's something's lacking, or just the water just needs to be cleaned, and running fresh carbon would help. Okay. And then someone here in the chat says, soft corals can't handle heavy metals like the stony corals can. I lost my softies when I had toxic levels of zinc. Well, where are you getting zinc from? But I hear you. I get that. All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to get to work. I got things to do. I might just have to bow out. Let's see. I told you guys I changed this room slightly. I might as well let you see and see if you can figure it out what I did. So we'll remove this coral cover if I can get my mouse to cooperate. And then we'll zoom out here. And if you were to see better, because this room is dark behind me, those two coral magazines right there, that one and that one right there, they've been swapped out with new issues. And then I also removed the door that was on the hinges because it was just a door and I was kind of bored. And now you can see the wall, and I was able to take my Scully print that I got from Vossen, from Nori Vossen, and I put it on the wall. So that's nice. So once the light's on in the room, it'll be pretty. And I can see it, but you can't see it. But that's okay. This room is for me. Yeah, there you go. Sure, William, we can have a phone call. Not a problem. In the meantime, I think this looks better. Also, on that wall back there in the hallway, that was... it was the Scullies that I moved. And now it is a needlepoint that was given to me as a gift from my parents of dolphins. So I stuck that there in the background. So when the lighting is perfect, you'll end up seeing these things in the in the future when you're watching. Just knowing things are changing a little bit in the background. Also, this little small one, it's completely cleaned out. All that's in there is a couple of hermit crabs and worms and copepods. And I changed it from a white light to a blue light. Now I'm going to decide what to put in that tank next. Something that I feed once a week so that the water quality stays good. I don't know what yet. I haven't decided, but something, I don't know, zoanthids. Something just colorful. That would be nice. So I just want to try something new in that tank. So it's just running and it's clean and the water's crystal clear and there's no algae in there and I love it. But that's that. So that is kind of the update on that as well. Oh boy. Yep. So back to the zinc thing. What is his name, by the way? The Amjad Mouseable. I'm sure there's something there that makes sense. I don't know. Said I was dosing Kalkwasser from a container that had a stainless steel pipe and didn't know that was going to be a problem. Said it worked fine for 2 years and then boom. All right, yeah. Yeah, no metals in our tank, ever. Nothing. Everything's got to be plastic. All plastic all the time. That's the best way. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And, you know, I don't know where, you know, what's going on in your areas, where it is here. The weather's nice, but a little rainy, and I kind of like that because it means the grass will be greener and prettier and my roses will grow. Thank you so much for explaining it. Amjad Jamus is the name. See, I knew I couldn't pronounce it properly. Hello from Romania. Well, hello from Texas. Thank you so much. All right, guys, that's it. I just want to remind you, today is Water Test Saturday. Keep doing all your water testing because when you check your water parameters, that is the best way for you to have a successful reef tank because you're staying on top of the numbers and you're making sure that nothing gets way out of whack. And if something is, you can make the correction because you know what it is. But if you just look at the livestock and you look at the fish and you're like, they all look fine, you're just kind of playing with, you know, with chance. And then, you know, things will eventually go wrong and you'll have to test anyway. So at least staying on top of testing, you can avert disaster and save loss of life and enjoy your tank more because you're on top of things. You know, you're invested in the tank, you're putting effort into it, and your tank thanks you with beauty. So I encourage you to do it every Saturday if at all possible. And if Saturday's not your day and you have some other day, as long as you do it every week, that's all that matters. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.